Ever wanted a peek behind the curtain at a real business strategy? Not the polished version they show investors, but the raw, internal stuff? Well, today's your lucky day. I've got my hands on an internal handbook for a pretty niche digital group, and we're going to deconstruct it. We'll see how they plan not just for growth, but for something way more important: survival. Let's dive in.
Right out of the gate, the document hits you with this, well, kind of morbid question. But think about it for a second. It's the very first thing they want you to consider. This tells you right away this isn't just about marketing. It's a survival plan. It all starts by looking a pretty harsh reality right in the eye.
And that leads directly to their first big idea, the hit by a bus test. The logic here is just so simple, it's brilliant. Before you even think about getting new customers, you have to prove the business itself can survive its most important person suddenly disappearing.
At the end of the day, what this test really does is it forces you to do one crucial thing: write everything down. You have to create an operations manual, a playbook. You got to get all those essential processes out of one person's head and onto paper so anyone can follow it. That's the secret sauce for turning a fragile operation into a resilient one.
Okay, so you've made the business bulletproof. Now what? How do you actually present it to the world? That brings us to their second section. And what's so key here is they figure out their philosophy, their core identity, before they even touch marketing tactics. That's a huge lesson right there.
And this is where their whole approach gets really, really interesting. The goal? It's not what you'd think. There are no flashy promises of getting rich overnight. Nope. The entire strategy is built to create this air of mystery, to make the group feel like something exclusive, something you have to earn your way into. It's all about sparking curiosity, not dangling a carrot.
And just look at the language they use. This military analogy is powerful stuff. It's genius, really. They're not selling a product here, they're holding tryouts for an elite team. That one little shift in framing instantly filters out all the people they don't want and attracts the exact person they're looking for, someone who loves a challenge and wants to be held to a higher standard.
This slide just lays it all out in black and white. On one side, you have their way, all about internal virtues like discipline and patience. On the other side, you've got the typical industry pitch: hype, big money promises. This isn't just branding, it's a declaration of their values. It's basically a giant homing beacon for a very, very specific kind of person.
And they tie this whole philosophy section up with a perfect metaphor: planting a garden. It's such a brilliant way to set expectations. It says, hey, this isn't a slot machine. It's a seed you have to actually care for and nurture over time. It immediately signals that the single most important ingredient here is patience.
So you've got a resilient business model and a really powerful philosophy. Now what? Well, it needs a home. And that brings us to part 3 of their plan, creating what they call a digital rallying point.
And the job of this website is incredibly focused. It's not some complicated sales page with a million pop-ups. It's designed to be a simple, clean, modern hub with basically one mission: get that core message across and grab the attention of those curious people we were just talking about. Now take a look at the actual content they plan for this site. It's not just a random list of features. They want that core message right up top, a high-level overview, and, this is important, legit user testimonials to build that critical trust. Every single piece, from the audio clips to what they call an atmosphere of discipline, is there to reinforce that core philosophy. It's about creating a vibe, a feeling, not just spitting out information.
All right, we're at the final section. The foundation is solid, the philosophy is crystal clear, the website's all planned out. So how do you actually get there? It's time to talk tactics, the 6 specific tools they plan to use to build out their marketing funnel.
And this really is the big question, isn't it? This is where the rubber meets the road. You've got this great strategy, this great platform, but how do you actually get people into the funnel? How do you turn all this great thinking into real-world attention?
And here it is, their 6-step action plan. But notice the sequence here. It's very deliberate, very pragmatic. It starts with step 1, free, easy posts on places like Twitter and LinkedIn that you can do right now. Then it moves into more visual, brand-building stuff on Instagram and TikTok. And only after all that do they scale up to a full-blown YouTube channel and finally, the more expensive paid ads. It's a classic crawl, walk, run approach.
So let's just break down the logic a little. The strategy kicks off with the low-hanging fruit, free social posts, for immediate outreach. Simple enough. Then, it uses visual platforms like Instagram to drop teasers and testimonials to really build the feel of the brand. YouTube is set up to be a long-term library for their content.
And only at the very, very end do they bring in the big guns, the paid ads for super targeted campaigns.
So, after digging through all of this, what are the big takeaways for the rest of us? Well, I see 4 huge lessons any business can use. First, solve for survival before you even think about growth. Pass that bus test. Second, figure out your core philosophy before you pick your tactics. Third, build one central home, one rallying point for your message. And finally, create a simple, step-by-step plan to get people there.
And all this brings me to one last thought. You know, in a world that is completely obsessed with hype and get-rich-quick schemes, this entire strategy feels, well, it feels rebellious. It's all about patience, discipline, and it really makes you wonder. In a marketplace that's obsessed with speed, is choosing to be patient the most radical marketing plan of all?